Life After Death, The Never-Ending Dream, written by Ronald 2024. What happens when we die? This question has lingered in the human mind since the dawn of consciousness, haunting our dreams and shaping our beliefs, art, and civilizations. The search for answers has led us through myriad paths: religions that promise eternal bliss or torment, philosophies that question the very nature of existence, and scientific inquiries that push the boundaries of what we know about the mind and the universe. In Life After Death, The Never-Ending Dream, I invite you to journey with me through the landscapes of these questions. This book is not just an exploration of what may lie beyond the veil of death, but also a reflection on how these ideas shape the way we live. Whether viewed as a final resting place, a new beginning, or a continuation of a grand, cosmic narrative, the concept of life after death has inspired countless beliefs and rituals, offering comfort to some and stirring fear in others. As we delve into this subject, we will examine the ancient wisdom of civilizations long past, the mystical experiences that transcend cultural boundaries, and the modern scientific endeavors that seek to unravel the mysteries of consciousness. Through personal accounts, case studies, and speculative theories, we will explore whether death is truly the end, or merely a transition into a different state of being. This book is for anyone who has ever pondered the meaning of life and death, for those who seek solace in the face of mortality, and for the curious minds that wonder if consciousness might persist in some form beyond the physical. My hope is that Life After Death, The Never-Ending Dream, will not only provoke thought, but also inspire a deeper understanding of the human experience. In the pages that follow, you will find a blend of ancient philosophy, spiritual traditions, and cutting-edge science, all woven together in a narrative that seeks to answer one of humanity's most enduring questions. Whether or not we ever find definitive answers, the journey itself is filled with insight, wonder, and, perhaps, a glimpse of the infinite. Ronald 2024. The question of life after death has fascinated humanity for centuries. 1. Fear of the unknown, mortality and fear. Human beings are acutely aware of their mortality, and the fear of the unknown that comes with death is a significant motivator for exploring what might lie beyond. The uncertainty of what happens after death, whether there is an afterlife, reincarnation, or nothing at all, leads to a natural curiosity and desire for answers. Confronting finality, death is seen as the ultimate end of existence, which is a difficult concept for many to accept. The idea that life could continue in some form after death offers a sense of continuity and comfort in the face of this finality. 2. Search for meaning and purpose. Existential questions. The possibility of life after death ties into broader existential questions about the meaning and purpose of life. If there is something beyond this life, it might suggest that our actions, relationships, and experiences have a significance that transcends our physical existence. Moral framework. Many cultures and religions believe that the afterlife serves as a realm of reward or punishment, which can provide a moral framework that guides how people live their lives. This notion of cosmic justice or spiritual continuation adds a layer of meaning to human existence. 3. Religious and spiritual beliefs. Historical religious teachings. Nearly every major religion offers some explanation of what happens after death, whether it's heaven and hell in Christianity, reincarnation in Hinduism and Buddhism, or the concept of an eternal soul in many other belief systems. These teachings have shaped human understanding of life and death for millennia. Spiritual longing. Beyond organized religion, many people have a spiritual longing for connection with something greater than themselves. The idea of an afterlife fulfills a deep-seated need for a sense of belonging to a larger cosmic order. 4. Cultural and social impact. Cultural narratives. Stories about life after death, from ancient myths to modern-day accounts of near-death experiences, have played a significant role in shaping cultural narratives and societal norms. These stories provide comfort, offer lessons, and help people cope with the loss of loved ones. 5. Art and literature. The theme of life after death has been a powerful motif in art, literature, and philosophy. From the Epic of Gilgamesh to Dante's Divine Comedy and beyond, these works reflect humanity's enduring fascination with what lies beyond the grave. 5. Personal experiences and anecdotes. Near-death experiences, NDEs. Accounts of near-death experiences, where individuals report encountering a bright light, meeting deceased loved ones, or experiencing a sense of peace, have fueled interest in the afterlife. These stories, whether interpreted as spiritual events or brain phenomena, captivate the imagination and reinforce the possibility of life after death. Mediumship and paranormal phenomena. Throughout history, people have claimed to communicate with the dead or experience paranormal phenomena, furthering the belief in an afterlife. These experiences, while scientifically controversial, have kept the question alive in popular culture. The question of life after death continues to fascinate humanity because it addresses our deepest fears, provides comfort in the face of mortality, and offers a sense of meaning and purpose that transcends the finite nature of earthly existence. Whether approached through religious doctrine, philosophical inquiry, cultural storytelling, or personal experience, the concept of life after death remains a central and enduring concern for people across cultures and epochs. Delving into the age-old questions about life, death, and the afterlife involves exploring a rich tapestry of philosophical perspectives that span from ancient to modern times. These questions have been central to human thought, prompting a variety of interpretations and theories. Ancient philosophical perspectives. Plato, 427–347 BCE. Dualism and immortality of the soul. Plato, one of the most influential ancient philosophers, posited a dualistic view of reality, where the soul and body are distinct entities. In dialogues like the Phaedo, Plato argued that the soul is immortal and pre-exists the body. Upon death, the soul is released from the body and returns to the realm of forms, a non-physical plane of perfect, eternal ideas. Theory of recollection. Plato also suggested that learning is a process of recollecting knowledge that the soul possessed before birth, implying a belief in the soul's existence before and after life. 6. Aristotle, 384–322 BCE. Hylomorphism. Aristotle, Plato's student, offered a different view. He proposed hylomorphism, where the soul and body are inseparable, with the soul being the form of the body, essentially its life-giving principle. For Aristotle, the soul does not survive the body after death, which presents a more naturalistic view of life and death compared to Plato. Potentiality and actuality. Aristotle's concept of potentiality and actuality also plays into his understanding of life. Life is seen as the actualization of a living being's potential, and death is the cessation of this actualization. Epicurus, 341–270 BCE. Materialism and the fear of death. Epicurus, an atomist, believed that the soul was made of atoms and that both body and soul dissolved at death. He famously argued that death is nothing to us because, when we exist, death is not, and when death exists, we are not. This materialistic view implies that there is no afterlife, and thus, no reason to fear death. Medieval philosophical perspectives. Augustine of Hippo, 354–430 CE. Christian doctrine of the afterlife. Augustine synthesized Christian theology with Platonic philosophy, advocating for the immortality of the soul and the reality of an afterlife. He emphasized the role of divine judgment, where the soul would either be rewarded in heaven or punished in hell based on earthly deeds. Thomas Aquinas, 1225-1274 CE. Scholastic synthesis. Aquinas combined Aristotelian philosophy with Christian doctrine. He believed in the resurrection of the body and the eternal life of the soul, with the final union of body and soul in the afterlife. Aquinas argued that the soul, being the form of the body, is immortal because it is not dependent on the body for its existence. Modern philosophical perspectives. René Descartes, 1596-1650, Cartesian dualism. Descartes, known for his famous dictum, cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, argued for a dualistic separation between the mind, soul, and body. He believed the soul was immaterial and immortal, capable of existing independently of the body. Descartes' view influenced much of modern thought on the nature of consciousness and its potential survival after death. 7. Immanuel Kant, 1724-1804, Moral Argument for the Afterlife. Kant approached the afterlife from an ethical perspective. In his Critique of Practical Reason, he posited that the existence of God and the immortality of the soul are necessary postulates of practical reason. For Kant, the afterlife is essential for the fulfillment of moral justice, where virtue is ultimately rewarded. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844-1900, Eternal Recurrence. Nietzsche challenged traditional notions of the afterlife with his concept of eternal recurrence, where life eternally recurs in an infinite loop. This idea is more metaphorical, emphasizing the importance of living as if your actions would be repeated eternally. Nietzsche rejected the Christian afterlife, promoting a life-affirming philosophy instead. Jean-Paul Sartre, 1905-1980, Existentialism and Nothingness. Sartre, an existentialist, argued that death brings about nothingness and the end of existence. In his view, there is no afterlife, and humans must create meaning in a finite, absurd world. Sartre's philosophy places the responsibility on individuals to live authentically in the face of death's finality. Contemporary perspectives. Process theology and panentheism. Alfred North Whitehead and Charles Hartshorne. Process theologians like Whitehead and Hartshorne have proposed a view of the afterlife that involves the continuation of personal identity through participation in the ongoing process of the universe. This view is less about traditional notions of heaven or hell, and more about a continuous evolution of consciousness. Transhumanism, technological afterlife. In more recent discussions, some modern thinkers, particularly transhumanists, explore the possibility of achieving immortality through technology. This includes ideas like mind uploading or digital consciousness, where life after death could be achieved through artificial means rather than metaphysical ones. The question of what happens after death continues to inspire deep philosophical inquiry, reflecting humanity's enduring desire to understand our existence. From ancient speculations about the soul's immortality to modern debates about consciousness and the potential for a technologically mediated afterlife, the search for answers remains a central aspect of the human experience. Each of these perspectives offers a unique lens through which to explore. 8. The mysteries of life, death, and what might come after. The nature of consciousness and its relationship to the physical body is a central question in both philosophy and neuroscience. There are several theories regarding whether consciousness is bound to the physical body, or if it might persist after death. Let's explore these ideas, including the metaphor of a dream as a potential continuation of consciousness. Theories of consciousness and the body. Materialism, physicalism. Consciousness as a brain function. Materialism posits that consciousness is entirely a product of physical processes in the brain. According to this view, when the brain ceases to function, so does consciousness. Neuroscientists like Francis Crick and Christoph Koch have suggested that consciousness arises from the complex interactions of neurons in the brain. Thus, in a strictly materialistic view, consciousness cannot persist after death because it is intrinsically tied to the physical body. Evidence from neuroscience. Many neuroscientific studies support this view by showing how changes in brain activity correlate with changes in consciousness. For example, damage to specific brain regions can result in altered or diminished consciousness, suggesting a strong dependence on the brain's physical state. Dualism, mind-body. Dualism, famously associated with René Descartes, argues that the mind, or consciousness, and the body are distinct entities. The mind is immaterial and can exist independently of the physical body. According to this theory, consciousness might persist after death because it is not entirely dependent on the physical brain. Near-death experiences, NDEs. Some proponents of dualism point to near-death experiences as evidence that consciousness can exist outside the body. During NDEs, individuals report vivid experiences, often described as a journey through a tunnel or meeting deceased relatives, despite being clinically dead or having no detectable brain activity. Panpsychism, consciousness as a fundamental aspect of reality. Panpsychism suggests that consciousness is a fundamental and ubiquitous feature of the universe, not just something that emerges in. 9. Complex brains. According to this theory, consciousness might not be tied exclusively to the brain, but could be an intrinsic property of all matter. This view allows for the possibility that consciousness might persist in some form, even after the death of the physical body. Integrated Information Theory, IIT. Some modern interpretations of panpsychism, such as integrated information theory, propose that consciousness corresponds to the degree of information integration in a system. While this theory is primarily used to explain consciousness in living beings, it also leaves room for the idea that consciousness could exist in other forms or systems. Consciousness in the afterlife, the dream. Metaphor. The dream as a metaphor. Continuity of consciousness. The idea of a dream as a metaphor for the afterlife suggests that just as consciousness continues in a different state during sleep, it might also continue in some form after death. Dreams are often seen as a continuation of consciousness, where the mind creates a reality separate from the waking world. This metaphor can be extended to the afterlife, where consciousness might persist in a state that is qualitatively different from life as we know it. Mystical and religious interpretations. Many mystical traditions and religious beliefs view life as a kind of dream or illusion, Maya in Hinduism, and death as a transition to a different state of consciousness. In this view, the afterlife could be seen as waking up from one dream, life, into another, potentially more vivid or real state of existence. Lucid dreaming and afterlife analogies. Lucid dreaming. In a lucid dream, individuals are aware that they are dreaming and can often control the dream environment. This state of conscious awareness within a dream has been used as an analogy for the afterlife in various spiritual traditions. The idea is that after death, one might enter a state of lucid awareness where they are more conscious and have more control over their reality than in life. Tibetan Buddhism. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the process of dying as a transition through various states of consciousness, similar to moving through different stages of a dream. The ultimate goal is to achieve enlightenment, which is akin to waking up from the cycle of death and rebirth. Contemporary speculative theories. Simulation hypothesis. Consciousness as data. Some modern thinkers, like philosopher Nick Bostrom, have proposed. 10. The idea that consciousness could exist in a simulated reality. If our current reality is a simulation, then death might simply mean the end of one simulation and the beginning of another, or perhaps the migration of consciousness to a different digital environment. This idea opens up possibilities for consciousness persisting beyond the physical body in ways that are currently speculative but increasingly discussed in the context of advanced technology. Quantum consciousness, orchestrated objective reduction, OR, theory, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. This theory suggests that consciousness arises from quantum processes in the brain. While this theory remains controversial, it implies that consciousness could be more deeply rooted in the fabric of reality than purely physical processes, potentially allowing for its persistence after death. Theories about consciousness and its potential persistence after death reflect a wide range of philosophical and scientific perspectives. While materialism ties consciousness closely to the brain, dualism, panpsychism, and other speculative theories leave room for the possibility that consciousness might continue in some form beyond physical death. The metaphor of a dream provides a powerful way to conceptualize this continuation, suggesting that death could be a transition to another state of consciousness, just as waking from a dream brings us into a different reality. These ideas continue to inspire debate, reflection, and exploration in the quest to understand the true nature of consciousness, and what, if anything, lies beyond death. The concept of life after death is a central theme in many religions and spiritual traditions, each offering unique perspectives on what happens after we die. These beliefs often provide comfort, moral guidance, and a sense of purpose to followers. Here's an overview of how different religions and spiritual traditions view life after death. 1. Christianity, heaven and hell. Christianity teaches that after death, souls are judged by God and sent to either heaven or hell, based on their faith and deeds. Heaven is depicted as a place of eternal joy and union with God, while hell is a place of eternal punishment and separation from God. The concept of purgatory is also present in Catholicism, where souls undergo purification before entering heaven. Resurrection. Christians believe in the resurrection of the body, where the dead will be raised and judged at the end of times, leading to eternal life in heaven or eternal damnation in hell. 11. 2. Islam. Afterlife, Akhirah. In Islam, life after death is central to the faith. Muslims believe in a day of judgment where all individuals will be resurrected and judged by Allah. Those who have followed God's guidance will enter Jannah, paradise, a place of eternal bliss, while those who have rejected faith will be sent to Jahannam, hell, a place of torment. Interim state, Barzakh. Before the day of judgment, souls reside in Barzakh, an intermediary state where they await resurrection. 3. Hinduism, reincarnation and karma. Hinduism teaches that the soul, Atman, is eternal and undergoes a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. This cycle is governed by karma, the law of cause and effect, where one's actions in past lives influence their future lives. Moksha. The ultimate goal in Hinduism is to achieve moksha, liberation from the cycle of samsara, and union with the divine. Moksha is attained through spiritual practices, self-realization, and living a righteous life. 4. Buddhism, rebirth and karma, similar to Hinduism. Buddhism also believes in rebirth, where individuals are reborn in different realms based on their karma. The cycle of rebirth continues until one attains enlightenment, nirvana. Nirvana. Nirvana is the cessation of suffering and the end of the cycle of rebirth. It represents the ultimate spiritual goal in Buddhism, where one achieves complete liberation from worldly desires and attachments. 5. Judaism, Olam Haba, the world to come. Jewish beliefs about the afterlife vary, but many Jews believe in a spiritual afterlife called Olam Haba, where the righteous are rewarded. Some Jewish traditions also include the belief in the resurrection of the dead during the Messianic age. Sheol. In earlier Jewish texts, Sheol is described as a shadowy place where all the dead go, regardless of their moral conduct. Over time, beliefs evolved to include more differentiated outcomes based on one's righteousness. 6. Sikhism. Reincarnation and liberation. Sikhism teaches that the soul goes through cycles of birth and rebirth, influenced by one's karma. The goal is to attain mukti, liberation, from this cycle, which 12. Is achieved through living a life of truth, meditation on God's name, Nam, and selfless service. Union with God. Liberation in Sikhism involves the soul merging with God, where it becomes part of the divine reality and escapes the cycle of birth and death. 7. Indigenous and traditional beliefs. Ancestor worship and spirit worlds. Many indigenous and traditional religions believe in the continuation of life after death in the form of ancestral spirits. These spirits are often venerated, and it is believed that they can influence the living. The afterlife is often seen as a spiritual realm where the dead continue to exist in a different form. Animism. In animistic traditions, all living things and natural elements have spirits. Death is often seen as a transition where the spirit returns to nature or enters a spiritual realm. 8. New Age and modern spirituality. Reincarnation and spiritual evolution. Many New Age beliefs incorporate ideas of reincarnation, where the soul evolves through multiple lifetimes towards spiritual perfection. This process is often guided by spiritual laws or cosmic forces. Astral planes. Some New Age philosophies believe in the existence of different planes of existence or dimensions that the soul travels through after death. These planes are often depicted as levels of consciousness or spiritual awareness. The variety of beliefs about life after death across different religions and spiritual traditions reflects humanity's deep concern with mortality and the desire to find meaning in existence. Whether through the promise of heaven, the cycle of reincarnation, or the attainment of spiritual liberation, these beliefs provide frameworks for understanding death and offer hope for what lies beyond. Mystical experiences and near-death experiences, NDEs, offer profound insights into the nature of consciousness and the possibility of life after death. These experiences often challenge conventional understandings of the mind and the material world, leading many to consider them as evidence of an afterlife or a different dimension of existence. Here's an exploration of these phenomena, supported by personal accounts and case studies. 1. Mystical experiences. 13. Nature of mystical experiences. Mystical experiences are characterized by a sense of unity with the universe, the dissolution of the self, and a deep connection with a higher reality or divine presence. These experiences often occur spontaneously, or through practices like meditation, fasting, or the use of psychedelics. William James. In his seminal work, The Varieties of Religious Experience, William James identified common features of mystical experiences, including ineffability, the experience cannot be adequately described in words; noetic quality, a sense of gaining profound knowledge; transiency, the experience is brief; and passivity, the experiencer feels a loss of control. Aldous Huxley. In The Doors of Perception, Huxley described his experiences with mescaline as revealing a deeper reality, where the mind is not limited by the physical senses. Huxley suggested that mystical experiences might open the doors to understanding consciousness beyond the material world. Implications for life after death. Mystical experiences often lead individuals to believe in a reality beyond the physical world. The feelings of unity and timelessness reported in these experiences suggest that consciousness may not be bound by the body and could persist after death. The idea that mystical experiences reveal a higher truth supports the notion that life continues in some form after death. 2. Near-death experiences, NDEs. Characteristics of NDEs. Near-death experiences are reported by individuals who have come close to death or been clinically dead for a brief period before being revived. Common elements of NDEs include out-of-body experience, OBE. Many people report floating above their bodies and observing medical personnel working on them. 14. Tunnel vision. A common feature of NDEs is moving through a dark tunnel towards a bright light. Encountering beings. Experiencers often report meeting deceased loved ones, spiritual beings, or even religious figures. Life review. Some report a rapid review of their life's events, often accompanied by a deep understanding of their actions and their consequences. Feelings of peace. Despite the life-threatening circumstances, many NDErs describe a profound sense of peace, love, and acceptance. Case studies and personal accounts. Dr. Ibn Alexander. A neurosurgeon, Dr. Alexander experienced an NDE during a coma caused by severe bacterial meningitis. In his book, Proof of Heaven, he describes an out-of-body experience where he traveled through a beautiful, otherworldly realm and encountered a divine presence. Despite his scientific background, this experience led him to believe in the existence of consciousness beyond the brain. Pam Reynolds. Pam Reynolds' case is one of the most documented NDEs. During a brain surgery where her body temperature was lowered and her brain activity ceased, Reynolds reported detailed observations of the surgery and a profound spiritual experience, including moving through a tunnel and encountering deceased relatives. Her account was later corroborated by the medical team, despite her brain being clinically inactive during the experience. Scientific studies, Raymond Moody. Dr. Raymond Moody's groundbreaking book, Life After Life, brought NDEs to public attention. He identified common elements in the experiences of people who had NDEs, suggesting that these experiences might offer a glimpse into what happens after death. The AWARE study, conducted by Dr. Sam Parnia, the AWARE Awareness During Resuscitation study investigated NDEs in cardiac arrest survivors. While the study did not conclusively prove consciousness after death, it did document verifiable OBEs, where patients accurately described events occurring while they were clinically dead. 15. Implications for life after death. NDEs are often interpreted as evidence of an afterlife because of the consistent experiences of consciousness continuing beyond the point of clinical death. The vividness, emotional intensity, and life-changing impact of these experiences lead many to believe that they offer a glimpse into what happens after we die. 3. Theories and interpretations, materialist explanations, brain chemistry. Skeptics argue that NDEs and mystical experiences are the result of neurochemical changes in the brain, such as the release of endorphins or the activation of the brain's temporal lobes during moments of crisis. These changes could create vivid hallucinations that are mistaken for experiences of an afterlife. Dying brain hypothesis. Some researchers suggest that NDEs are a result of the brain's last attempts to make sense of a lack of sensory input as it shuts down, leading to tunnel vision, OBEs, and other common NDE features. Non-materialist explanations, survival hypothesis. Proponents of the survival hypothesis argue that NDEs and mystical experiences are evidence of consciousness surviving bodily death. These experiences suggest that consciousness is not entirely dependent on the brain and might continue in some form after physical death. Quantum consciousness. Some theorists, like Dr. Stuart Hameroff and physicist Roger Penrose, propose that consciousness could be a quantum phenomenon, potentially allowing it to exist independently of the brain and persist after death. Mystical experiences and near-death experiences offer compelling, albeit controversial, evidence for the continuation of consciousness after death, while materialist explanations seek to explain these phenomena as products of brain chemistry. The consistency and transformative nature of these experiences lead many to consider them as glimpses into a possible afterlife. Personal accounts and case studies add depth to this exploration, highlighting the profound impact these experiences have on individuals and their understanding of life and death. As science and spirituality continue to intersect, these experiences remain a significant area of study in the quest to understand the nature of consciousness and what lies beyond. The scientific investigation into the afterlife, consciousness beyond death, and related phenomena like near-death experiences, NDEs, and past life regression is a fascinating and contentious field. While mainstream science often approaches these topics with skepticism, several studies and researchers have explored them rigorously, leading to intriguing findings. 1. Near-death experiences, NDEs. The AWARE study, Awareness During Resuscitation. Overview, led by Dr. Sam Parnia. The AWARE study is one of the most significant scientific investigations into NDEs. The study aimed to determine whether consciousness continues after clinical death by analyzing the experiences of cardiac arrest survivors. Methodology. The study involved over 2,000 patients across multiple hospitals, using hidden images placed in resuscitation areas to test if patients who reported out-of-body experiences could describe them. Findings. While the study did not conclusively prove consciousness beyond death, it did record several verifiable out-of-body experiences where patients accurately described events or details they could not have perceived through normal sensory channels. Some participants reported feeling a sense of peace, traveling through a tunnel, and seeing a bright light. Henry Ford Health Scholarly Commons. Research by Dr. Raymond Moody. Overview. Dr. Raymond Moody is one of the pioneers in studying NDEs, having coined the term in his groundbreaking book, Life After Life, 1975. Findings. Moody documented the common elements of NDEs, such as out-of-body experiences, encounters with a divine presence, and life reviews. His work, although controversial, opened the door for more scientific inquiry into the phenomenon. 2. Past life regression. Research by Dr. Ian Stevenson. Overview. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, conducted extensive research into past life memories, particularly in young children who claim to recall previous lives. Methodology. Stevenson documented over 2,500 cases across various cultures where children provided detailed accounts of past lives, often including specific names, places, and 17. Circumstances of death that could be verified. Findings. Many of these cases included verifiable details that the children had no ordinary way of knowing. Stevenson's meticulous documentation and case studies, published in works like 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation, suggest that these memories might be evidence of reincarnation, or, at the very least, some form of consciousness that extends beyond a single lifetime. 3. Consciousness beyond death. Quantum consciousness. Theories. Orchestrated objective reduction, OR theory. Researchers. Proposed by physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, the OR theory suggests that consciousness arises from quantum processes within the brain's microtubules. Implications. According to this theory, consciousness could potentially exist independently of the brain, implying that it might persist after death in some form. Although this theory remains speculative and controversial, it has sparked considerable interest in the intersection of quantum physics and consciousness studies. Studies on deathbed visions and terminal lucidity. Overview. Some researchers have explored phenomena such as deathbed visions, where dying individuals report seeing deceased loved ones or entering another realm, and terminal lucidity, a sudden return of mental clarity in dying patients. Findings: while these phenomena are not well understood, they are often reported across cultures and have led some to speculate that they might offer insights into the afterlife or the persistence of consciousness. However, more research is needed to understand these occurrences fully. While the scientific study of the afterlife, NDEs, and related phenomena is still in its early stages, these investigations have opened up intriguing possibilities. The AWARE study and the work of researchers like Dr. Ian Stevenson and Dr. Raymond Moody provide compelling, though not definitive, evidence that consciousness might continue in some form after physical death. Quantum theories and the exploration of deathbed phenomena further suggest that our current understanding of consciousness and its relationship to the body might be incomplete. These studies continue to challenge the boundaries of science and our understanding of life, death, and what might lie beyond. 18. Quantum physics, a field that explores the fundamental nature of reality, has been a source of speculation and inspiration for theories about life after death. While these ideas are largely speculative and not universally accepted within the scientific community, they provide intriguing possibilities for how consciousness might persist beyond physical death. Here are some of the key concepts. 1. Quantum consciousness, orchestrated objective reduction, OR, theory. Proponents: physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. Concept: the OR theory posits that consciousness arises from quantum processes within the brain's microtubules, tiny structures within neurons. These quantum processes are thought to be sensitive to the fabric of reality itself, potentially linking consciousness to the fundamental nature of the universe. According to this theory, when the brain dies, the quantum information stored in the microtubules may not be destroyed but could be released into the universe. This suggests that consciousness could exist independently of the body and persist after death, albeit in a different form. 2. Quantum entanglement and non-locality. Concept: quantum entanglement refers to a phenomenon where particles become linked and instantaneously affect each other, regardless of the distance between them. This has led some to speculate that consciousness might be a non-local phenomenon, not confined to the physical brain, but connected across the universe in ways we do not yet fully understand. If consciousness is entangled with the universe, it could potentially continue in some form after the physical body dies, possibly as part of a larger, non-local field of consciousness. 3. The many worlds interpretation. Proponent: Hugh Everett. Concept: the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually occurs, resulting in a multitude of parallel universes. Some have speculated that if consciousness is somehow linked to quantum processes, it might continue in a parallel universe after death. This could mean that when we die in one universe, our consciousness might continue in another, where the conditions of life are slightly different. 4. Quantum field theory and the zero-point field. 19. Concept: quantum field theory describes how particles are excitations of underlying fields that permeate the universe. The zero-point field, also known as the quantum vacuum, is the lowest possible energy state of these fields, where particles pop in and out of existence. Some theorists speculate that consciousness might be a form of energy or information that interacts with these fields. If consciousness is a pattern of information encoded in these fields, it might persist in some form after the death of the physical body. 5. Holographic principle. Concept: the holographic principle suggests that the entire universe can be described as a two-dimensional information structure, painted on the cosmological horizon, with the three-dimensional world being an emergent phenomenon. Some theorists speculate that if our reality is holographic in nature, consciousness might also be part of this hologram. Death might not be the end, but rather a transition to another level of this holographic reality, where consciousness could continue to exist. These quantum theories remain speculative and are not universally accepted as explanations for life after death. However, they challenge our traditional understanding of consciousness and reality, suggesting that the mind might be more intricately linked to the fabric of the universe than previously thought. These ideas, while still in the realm of theoretical physics and philosophy, open up fascinating possibilities for how consciousness might transcend the physical body and persist in some form after death. Death and the afterlife are universal themes that resonate across cultures, deeply influencing rituals, art, literature, and daily life. Different cultures have distinct beliefs about what happens after death, which in turn shape how they honor the dead, interpret life's purpose, and express these ideas through various forms of cultural production. 1. African cultures, beliefs, and afterlife. Many African cultures believe in a continuous connection between the living and the dead, often expressed through the concept of ancestors. The dead are thought to transition into a spiritual realm, where they become ancestral spirits, who continue to play a role in the lives of their descendants. Rituals. Rituals such as libation, pouring of liquid as an offering, and ancestral veneration are common. 20. Reflecting the belief that the dead continue to influence the living. Funeral ceremonies are often elaborate, designed to ensure a successful journey to the afterlife. Art and literature. Art forms like masks and sculptures often represent ancestors or spiritual beings, symbolizing the connection between the earthly and spiritual realms. Literature, including oral traditions, frequently addresses themes of death, legacy, and the cyclical nature of life. Daily life. Daily life is often guided by a respect for ancestors, and actions may be influenced by the desire to honor or appease these spirits. 2. Mexican culture, beliefs, and afterlife. Mexican views on death are heavily influenced by indigenous traditions, particularly the Aztec belief in an afterlife, where the dead journey to Mictlan, the land of the dead. Catholicism also plays a significant role, with heaven, hell, and purgatory as key concepts. Rituals. The Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is a vibrant celebration where families honor their deceased loved ones by creating altars, ofrendas, offering food, flowers, and candles to guide the spirits back to the world of the living for a brief reunion. Art and literature. Mexican art, such as the iconic sugar skulls and the work of artists like José Guadalupe Posada, often celebrates death as a part of life. Literature, including works by authors like Octavio Paz, explores the cultural significance of death and the afterlife. Daily life. The concept of death is integrated into daily life with a sense of familiarity and acceptance. Death is often viewed with humor and as a natural part of the human experience. 3. Chinese culture, beliefs, and afterlife. In Chinese culture, the afterlife is influenced by a mix of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. The dead are believed to enter an afterlife where their ancestors reside, and they can influence. 21. The living through their actions in the world beyond. Rituals. Ancestral worship is central to Chinese culture, with rituals including offerings of food, incense, and hell money to honor the deceased and ensure their comfort in the afterlife. The Qingming Festival, Tomb Sweeping Day, is a key event where families clean and decorate grave sites. Art and literature. Chinese art frequently depicts themes of life, death, and immortality. The idea of an eternal spirit or the quest for immortality is common in classical Chinese literature and philosophy. Daily life. The influence of ancestors is deeply ingrained in Chinese daily life, with many decisions and actions taken to maintain harmony with one's ancestors and ensure prosperity for future generations. 4. Western cultures, beliefs and afterlife. In Western cultures, heavily influenced by Christianity, the afterlife is typically understood in terms of heaven and hell, where souls are judged based on their earthly lives. However, secular perspectives, where death is seen as the end of existence, are also prevalent. Rituals. Funerals and memorial services are key rituals, often reflecting a mixture of religious and secular elements. Burial practices and the creation of memorials are common ways of honoring the dead. Art and literature. Western art and literature are rich with explorations of death and the afterlife, from Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy to contemporary works that question or reinterpret traditional beliefs. The memento mori tradition in art serves as a reminder of mortality. Daily life. While death may not be as integrated into daily life as in some other cultures, it influences ethical and moral decisions, particularly in relation to the afterlife. Secular cultures may focus more on legacy and remembrance rather than the afterlife. 5. Hindu culture, beliefs and afterlife. Hinduism believes in reincarnation, where the soul, Atman, is reborn into different bodies across lifetimes, influenced by karma, the law of cause and effect. The ultimate goal is to achieve moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Rituals. Death rituals in Hinduism, such as the cremation of the body and the scattering of ashes in a sacred river, are designed to help the soul transition to its next life, or attain moksha. The mourning period includes specific rituals to honor the deceased. Art and literature. Hindu art often depicts the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, with deities like Yama, the god of death, playing key roles. Sacred texts like the Bhagavad Gita explore the nature of the soul and the afterlife. Daily life. The belief in reincarnation and karma profoundly influences daily actions and ethical decisions, as individuals seek to improve their karma for a better future life or to achieve liberation. Beliefs about death and the afterlife are deeply woven into the cultural fabric of societies, influencing rituals, art, literature, and daily life. These beliefs shape how people understand their place in the world, how they cope with loss, and how they express their deepest hopes and fears. Each culture's approach to death and the afterlife reflects broader worldviews and values, providing insight into the human condition and our collective search for meaning. I hope to resonate with readers interested in the big questions of existence and life after death, the never-ending dream.